Remember Pearl Harbor. Keep 'em rolling. Production Board, in cooperation with WOR Mutual, presents the 28th in this weekly series of programs of entertainment and information about America's United War effort. Your master of ceremonies is one of Hollywood's most distinguished personalities, the well-known star of stage and screen, Melvin Douglas.
Good evening. The day, which is just drawing to a close, has a special significance for all of us. May 17th is the annual date we set aside to re-examine and reaffirm the rights and privileges that are the free heritage of every American. In order that every American shall continue to possess these sacred rights and these cherished privileges, the men in our armed forces all over the world are fighting and dying tonight. They're meeting their responsibility. It's for us to meet ours. It's for us here stubbornly to resolve to match the blood and sacrifice on the battlefront with the toil and sweat on the home front. To that resolve, we dedicate tonight's program of song and drama. Here to take part in this dedication are such talented exponents of the free spirit as
the screen-celebrated dramatic star, Charles Bickford. One of America's most dynamic singers, B. Wayne. Radio's popular vocalists, the Crane Calder Chorus.
As well as the music of our versatile composer-conductor, Morton Gould, and his orchestra, who accompany B. Wayne and the chorus in a musical reminder for all of us.
On the street, in the home, in a crowd or alone, shout wherever you may be. I am an American. I am from the heart of me. Rich or poor, young and old, let this message be told. Shout wherever you may be. I am an American. I'm proud of my liberty. In the factory, in the mill, through each valley, from each hill, raise your voice and give America a thrill. On the farms, in the schools, let's have one set of rules. Shout wherever you may be. I am an American. I am every part of me.
Rich or poor, young and old, let this message be told. Shout wherever you may be. I am an American. I'm proud of my liberty.
In the factory, in the mill, through each valley, from each hill, raise your voice and give America a thrill. On the farms, in the schools, let's have one set of rules. Shout
wherever you may be.
I am an American. I am every part of me.
Each week, in keeping with our government's policy of keeping us informed, it's been the custom of this program to make it possible for us to listen in on a brief informal interview with one or another of the men who are playing vital parts in our United War effort. Such important individuals as Chairman of the War Production Board, Donald M. Nelson, and such of his hard-hitting right-hand men as Bill Batt, Leon Henderson, and the gentleman who's our guest of honor tonight. He may not be as well known as his predecessors on this program, but his is just as vital a part of the war job. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Dusick. Mr. Dusick, would you mind explaining just what part you've been playing in the war effort?
I have been bombing Jap air bases in the Philippines.
Yes. And do you find you've been... What'd you say you've been doing?
I have been bombing German air bases in the Philippines and getting ready to bomb Tokyo.
Just a minute, please. Are you sure we're on the right program? This isn't Fibber McGee and Molly.
No.
Well, something's wrong somewhere. You're supposed to be Frank Dusick, one of the millions of skilled workers in our aircraft factories.
My name is Frank Dusick, and I'm a skilled worker at the Wright Aeronautical Company in Patterson. The superchargers I work on are those used in the engine of flying fortresses. Without those superchargers, they never could be flown high enough or fast enough to bomb the Japs in the Philippines. Every hour I spent on those engines was spent in bombing the Japs.
Uh-huh. Just how long have you been at it? Bombing the Japs, I mean.
Almost 2 years, before I was running a little store in Patterson.
Well, it seems a far cry from running a little store to becoming a skilled aircraft worker.
Yes, it does. But it wasn't my case. I learned how to work with machines in Czechoslovakia 17 years ago, before I came to this country. I just turned the store over to my wife.
Your wife? Is she from Czechoslovakia, too?
No, my wife is Viennese. I mean, she was Viennese. Now we are both Americans. But for 2 years ago, I listened to the president on radio. The president said, build more planes. So I applied for a job at the Wright Aeronautical Company.
Your work's entirely with airplane engines, then?
Yes.
What particular part of the engine do you make?
I work on final assembly line. The final assembly line for the turbo superchargers used on a Wright Cyclone 14
Mr.
engine.
Dusick, turbo supercharger, that's Czechoslovak to me.
The turbo supercharger makes it possible for our bombers to fly at high altitudes. It had been delicately fitted as the finest watch.
That sounds pretty intricate. Don't you find your job a little wearing, Mr. Dusick?
Well, not in the morning. In the morning, I walk 2.5 miles to work. It's all right with me. By the time my job at the factory is over, I'm a little tired. So I'm going home at night. I shared a ride with some of my other fellows. We all took an A card in the gas rationing. By pulling them, we can get enough gas to work one car as a sort of taxi. That takes a lot of home.
Well, I hope a lot of other Americans who thought they had to have B cards will get together and follow your example, Mr. Dusick.
We're a funny bunch to be called Americans by birth. A lot of us are Poles and Czechs and Norwegians and Italians and almost anything you can think of. But we're all American citizens. And we care one thing about winning the war.
Well, that's all most of us care about, Frank. Winning the war and winning it quickly, regardless of the sacrifices we have to make. In tribute to the soldiers and sailors who act today as sentries of American freedom on the high seas and in the boundless air above every continent of the globe, Morton Gould leads his orchestra in his special arrangement of American Patrol. minutes ago, you met Frank Dusick, one of America's loyal legion of naturalized citizens. Now we'd like to introduce to you a countryman of ours who's native-born, native-bred, as American as chewing gum in the corner drugstore, as American as freedom is. You'll find this man's name in every telephone directory from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. Yep, the name's Joe Smith. Joe Smith, American. Paul Gallico wrote a short story about him just a few months ago, and Milton Geiger has dramatized that story so that you may hear it tonight. MGM has filled an exciting picture based on it, too. And all in all, it seems like the story of Joe Smith will become a classic. Here it is, Joe Smith, American, with Charles Bickford in the title role.
Joe, these gentlemen are from Washington. They'd like to ask you a few questions.
Well, I ought to be getting back the assembly line. There's airplanes to be gotten out, you know.
That's all right, Joe. Sit down.
We'd like to ask you a few personal questions.
Well, all right. Go ahead.
Where were you born, Joe?
Wisconsin. Littleport, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Folks living?
No.
Where were they born?
My mother's somewhere in Norway. Dad came from a little town in Austria. Name of Munden, something like that.
Your name always been Smith?
It might have been Schmidt back in the old country. I don't know.
How long have you been married, Joe?
10 years next month.
Any children?
Yes, sir. Boy, 9 years old.
How much money you got in the bank, Joe?
Isn't that getting kind of too personal?
Hey, you're pretty tight-lipped, aren't you?
Well, that's the kind of thing a fella tells his wife, and no one else.
No one else except 100 people at the bank and 50,000 people in the Treasury Department.
Okay, get it from them. I didn't tell you.
That's just what we wanted to hear, Joe.
We've got you just where we want you.
Yeah.
Joe, you've got a new job. We've selected you to install our secret bomb sight in the new planes here. Joe, the bomb sight is a powerful weapon. It could be the difference between defeat and victory for our country. You got that?
I got it.
You'll get your instructions today from Captain Weldron, who represents the company that builds the bomb sight for us. Of course, your pay will be adjusted.
Well, gee, that's swell.
Yeah. And, Joe, you can discuss your bank account with your wife all you want. You discuss the bomb sight with no one. No one. Have you got that?
Yep, I got it.
That's all, Joe. You start at once, and good luck.
Hiya, Mary. Here's your breadwinner. With the bread.
Hello, Joe. You're late. What kept you?
Oh, just put in some overtime. Regular routine. How about leaving the dishes tonight and taking in a movie?
Oh, fine. We'll make an early show, and then Johnny can come, too.
Swell.
Uh-oh.
What's the matter?
Oh, this is the night we're supposed to help Johnny with his history homework, remember?
Oh, that's right. Okay, we'll stay home and quiz the kid. Who knows? May even learn something ourselves.
All right, and who captured Port Ticonderoga?
Ethan Allen. The other general came out in his nightshirt.
Who was the Swamp Fox?
The Swamp Fox? General Francis Marion. Simple.
April 18th, 1775. What does that mean to you?
Midnight ride of Paul Revere. Knock, knock. Who's there? Revere. Revere who? Revere, stay away from my door.
Oh.
Very funny.
Well, that's what all the kids keep saying. I don't get it.
You know, I wonder what things would have been like if Paul Revere had stayed away from those doors.
A lot different, I guess.
You've got to hand it to those boys back there. They gave us a lot of history. They sure did. They gave us everything we've got.
Pop, I got a question.
All right, Johnny.
You know Mad Anthony Wayne?
He was another general in the Revolution.
What was he sore about anyway?
All right, Pete. We've been parked outside the plant for 2 hours, and where's your Joe Smith?
Take it easy, Conway. He's probably doing overtime.
Swell. You'll be able to tell us more about the bomb site then.
Watch it. That's his car pulling out now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's him, all right.
Here he comes. Okay, Conway. Follow him. Crowd him, Conway. Force him over to the curb.
Hey, look out where you're going. Hey, listen.
All right, boys. Get him. I'm telling you, Joe, you're not going to go out of this house unless you tell us what you know about that bomb site. Now give.
I told you. I'm not talking.
Hit him again, Conway. Tell us about that bomb site, Joe. Hit him. Hit him again, harder. Let him lay there and think it over. Think about it a minute, sucker.
Yeah, Joe. Think about it. Keep your head, Joe. Because if you ever get out of this alive, you're going after those guys. You're going to get them, see? So, remember everything. At least notice your blindfold slipped off one eye just now. You can see one of them has an ink spot on his shoe. Remember that. Here they come again, Joe. Don't talk. You can take it, Joe. It's tough, but you can take it.
All right, grab him. Set him up in a chair again. Are you going to tell us about that bomb site, Joe?
Sure, Joe. It hurts. It hurts plenty. But they can't break you. The 3 cheap thugs working for 3 more cheap thugs across the water. How do they stack up against 130 million Americans and all those boys back there in history? It hurts, Joe. But think of them.
Ethan Allen, Putnam, Washington, Whitehorse, Harry, Nathan Hale. I regret that I have only one life to lose for my country. Mad Anthony Wayne.
What was he sore about, Pop?
Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. Paul Revere. 1 if by land and 2 if by sea. And I on the opposite shore will be. Ride, Paul Revere, ride. Through every Middlesex village and far. The fate of a nation was riding that night. The fate of a nation. The fate of a nation. The fate of a nation is riding tonight.
You'll talk, Joe. You'll talk because we're going to make you talk. I'll tell the world you'll talk. Oh, Joe. Don't talk. Think of those history guys.
Think of Lexington, Concord, where once the embattled farmers stood. Valley Forge, Trenton, Bunker Hill. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. White Plains, Stony Point, Yorktown, and Victory. 1812, Fort McHenry, Francis Scott Key. Andrew Jackson, and victory.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and
Fort Sumter, Vicksburg, Bull Run, Antietam, the Wilderness, the guns of Shiloh, the Monitor, the Merrimack.
I'll fight it out on this line if it takes all summer. Ulysses S. Grant,
Robert E. Lee, sacrifice.
I see a rifle pit before Richmond. A wounded soldier cries for water. Water! Water!
Water.
Sure, there's a whole pitcher of water.
Now look here, Joe. I'm not going to fool with you anymore. Joe, you got a nice wife, haven't you? You got a nice kid, too. You wouldn't want anything to happen to them, would you, Joe?
Listen,
listen. You wouldn't want anything to happen to them because you're stubborn, would you? No, of course you wouldn't. I've wasted enough time with you, Joe. I'm going to give you 1 minute to think it over. Just 1 minute.
Means it, Joe. He means it. These guys will stop at nothing. You better tell him, Joe. Yeah, I know. I know what you're thinking. You hate to let those histories guys down. But it's them, or Mary and Johnny. What are you going to do, Joe? You going to be a sucker for a lot of names in a history book? Are you forgetting those guys were heroes? You're not supposed to be a hero. You're just plain Joe Smith. You got a wife and a kid to think about. What about them, Joe?
Boy, this is some turkey. There's only one thing I like better than turkey for Thanksgiving, and that's more turkey.
Town hall meeting was so exciting tonight. Everyone was in everyone's hair, and everyone had a grand time. I'm going again next week.
What? No fireworks on the 4th of July? Okay, give me 50 cents worth of sparklers, and I'll say thanks.
6 bottles of ginger ale, Mike. How's the girlfriend lately?
But, Mom, I can explain fully why it happens I haven't got 2 front teeth anymore. It was this way, Mom.
Too old for the circus? Who's too old for the circus? I am not too old for the circus. I'm going too, Joe Smith.
Boy, is this a doozy picnic. I never got such good specimens of different bugs. Let's come here oftener, huh, Mom?
Joe, it's the loveliest anniversary we've ever had. I'm so glad we met each other. I'm so glad we're alive.
It's wonderful to be alive.
All right, Joe. Your time's up.
All right. Pencil, paper.
Now you're being smart, Joe. Yeah.
Get busy, Joe. Draw that bomb sight.
And don't try to fake it. One of us is an engineer.
Go on, Joe. Draw.
Wait, Joe. Wait. Come to think of it, if you draw this thing for them, do you know what you'll be doing? You'll be selling out your country. Sure, I know. You'd only be doing it for your wife and your kid. What about all those guys back there that made your country what it is? They must have had wives and kids, too. But they didn't sell out. They didn't sell out because they knew how tough it would be for their wives and their kids. For everybody's wife and everybody's kids if they did. And don't get the idea it won't be tough for Mary and Johnny if you draw this thing. If America gets licked. No, Joe. Don't think things will be the same for them. Don't think they'll be so glad to be alive.
We'd rather be dead, Joe.
We'd rather be dead, Pop.
We'd rather be dead.
Well, Joe, snap out of it. Get busy, I said.
No, I won't do it.
You won't do it, huh? All right, boys, pick him up. Our hero is going for a ride.
Remember, the car that got you in. It's a National sedan. You can feel the end on the hardware of the ashtray where you're sitting. Remember everything. They dragged you down 7 wooden porch steps. Then the car started uphill right away and made a left turn. Then you knew you were on concrete by the way the car thumped over the tower strips. And you came to a bell traffic stop. Then a right turn. Then a sharp dip. A straightaway. And then, Joe... They're slowing down for a light. No, it's a bridge. Joe, it's your chance. Open the door. Jump.
Hey, you. What do you think you're doing? Come back here. Jump.
Jump!
Stop the car.
Ah, you fool. We can't stop now. There's too much traffic. We gotta beat it out of here. Come on, step on it.
You did it, Joe. You did it. Now you gotta get them. You gotta remember everything. Pick up a stone. Scratch with it on the pavement before you forget. 7 steps. Hill. Left turn. Concrete.
We have met the enemy, Joe.
Little traffic stop. Right turn. Dip. Straight away. And bridge. That's where you jumped.
We have met the enemy, Joe. And he is ours. When they found you lying on the side of the road, they picked you up and drove you right here to the hospital.
How long have I been here?
About an hour or so.
Good. Oh,
Joe, what are you getting up for? The doctor says you've got to rest.
I'll rest. Not until I get those guys who beat me up tonight. And I think I've remembered enough to get them.
You mean you know who they were?
No. I only know that they're 3 cheap rats who are working for 3 other cheap rats across the water. And I'm not going to rest until I get them. And those other 3 rats across the water. None of us are going to rest till we get them. And get them for keeps.
No, not one of us is going to rest till we get those 3 rats across the water. Get them and get them for keeps. Don't let's fool ourselves. It won't be easy. It'll take every ounce of will and energy we have to do it. B. Wayne says it for us in music, with the theme song Rogers and Hart wrote for this program.
Fun to drive a brand new car. It's lots of fun to dine and dance and think the wolf who's at the door hasn't got a single chance. But I don't need a brand new car. I can walk and still arrive. I'll work and save and save and work to keep my Uncle Sam alive. The flame of freedom is burning. Lots of timber and coal. And wheels are turning. Keep 'em rolling. We've got the goods to deliver. And that's our ace in the hole. Are all in the river, keep 'em rolling. Make your mind up when you get out of bed. Work your head off